You can see that just touching the surface, there's a lot to consider when you're buying your first home. The bank choice, the structure choice, how the deposit is made up. If you're looking to buy your first home in 2025, you've got to consider how that money is going to come through in the deposit and how you're going to get your loan structured. So you have to understand that deposit are made up often from a few different things. You can have your savings, KiwiSaver, there's some grants that you can apply for depending on the amount you're looking to borrow and what properties you're buying. But you have to also understand that it's very common in New Zealand because of the house prices to get help from mum and dad or family. So if you don't have enough deposit, depending on your age and stage of life, up to a third of people 30 and above have deposit help from mum and dad, and anyone that's younger, like some of the rates of getting help from mum and dad are even up as high as 75%, depending on people in their early 20s getting help from mum and dad. So it's very common to use either mum and dad's equity from one or two of their properties to get a gift from them or a loan. So if you're getting help from any outside source, you have to understand the difference between gifting, which is them giving you the money, there's an agreement, and they're not expecting that money back, and that's for the bank. The bank wants to see that that gift is not actually a loan, and that's going to impact your borrowing power. You might have a loan agreement. That's where your friends and family, your mum and dad are giving you the money, but they're expecting it back. You might also look at doing a joint venture. That's when you buy your first home as an investment property as part of a group, and you might have some arrangement to split the profit or to have a buy-sell agreement with those other partners at a future date. And another tactic is to buy through a trust. So it might be that if you're buying in a group, that certain people should be trustees and certain people beneficiaries, and you can have an agreement that sits in behind that. And this is going to be helpful for your borrowing options. So each bank is going to assess things in a different way. So you're looking at if you're buying in personal names, in a company or a trust, is all going to be dependent on your own situation, your age, your income, and how much help your friends and family are going to give you. And if you want to maximize your position, you have to understand that different banks are going to assess things in different ways. And if you're applying to buy a house as a group, they're going to look at things as multi-household, which means they're assessing not just your situation, assessing the situation of the other borrowers as well. And depending on those people, that's going to impact the decision on what bank you want to use. So it helps to talk to a mortgage advisor 6 to 12 months in advance, because it might make sense to go and open an account at a specific bank so that when you come to borrow the money at a later date, then you're a main bank client, and that applying for that loan becomes easier. Topping up on mum and dad's mortgage or on one of their properties is a consideration you want to get done well in advance as well. And this is so you can avoid cross-securing your parents' property into that first home purchase. There's no need to do that in most scenarios. You don't need to wrap things together. It's great for the bank to do it that way, but it might be the case that topping up mum and dad's mortgage just a little bit and getting that money come across for your deposit and keep things separate makes a lot more sense. Property relationship agreement is something that you should discuss with your lawyer. Often is the case that mum and dad on one side of your relationship is providing more help than the other, and that they need a little bit of comfort to know that if that relationship that you're in breaks up, that things can be sorted out and recovered at a later date. Property relationship agreement is very common, makes a lot of sense. This is what adults do. So talk to your lawyer, make sure both sides get advice, and that understanding that mum and dad, they don't necessarily always just have to help on the deposit, or if they can't help on deposit and they don't want to, they can support you in other ways. They can offset your mortgage, which means they have a joint account or put money in an account to bring the cost of your interest down, and they can also help support on the repayments. So it might be that you're affording $700 a week rent right now. Your proposed mortgage when you buy a first home is going to be $850, but you don't think you can afford that. It might be that mum and dad, they can support you $150 a week for a year or two just to make sure that you're getting on the property ladder. So you can see that just touching the surface, there's a lot to consider when you're buying your first home. The bank choice, the structure choice, how the deposit is made up. There's a lot of little moving parts, and that's one of the benefits of working with a mortgage advisor. They can help you identify these gaps in knowledge and get you set up for success. Financial freedom.